So I've been asked by this owner to basically refurbish and renovate all the sash windows and the sills in this late Victorian property. And they're in a state. So we're on the flat roof of the house now, and this is the worst windowsill in the house. Not only is all the paint basically flaked off, there's a huge crack running through it. Here you can see where I pretty much renewed the form of the sill. So I've chamfered the edges so that they're now at a slight angle so the water runs off better. And there you can see what it looked like before I shaped the edges. It's like a jagged tooth under there. And now it's pretty smooth and straight. This is limestone, so it's actually very, very easy to shape. You can actually take a handsaw and cut through it. It is really soft. To fill that crack, I'm going to use 2Pre Rock Hard Filler, which is a resin filler. So it does actually turn into essentially rock. You can't shape it after you've filled it in. So I'm actually leaving it slightly below the surface and make sure it's smoothed over. And then before it dries, rubbing sandpaper over the joint. And what this will do will actually take those granules of limestone and actually mix it with the filler so it blends it, as you can see. So then it becomes invisible, but also the benefit is that the texture is exactly the same as the stone. So when we paint that, it will adhere in exactly the same way. So you can just see the shape of the sill now is a million miles away from what it used to be. It had all those jagged, horrible, messy stalactites almost at the bottom, and that's all smooth and straight now. So now this is just a kind of base coat of Dulux Weather Shield. It's just a smooth masonry paint, and that will just sink into the sill. And I'm actually going to give this 3 coats anyway, so it'll be pretty thick. I think the secret to good paintwork is to master the art of not making a mess. Because if you make a mess, that's more to clean up. It will never leave a good finish if you get splatters up the walls. Learning how to cut in properly, learning how to load the brush properly so you've not got drips. There's just so many little details that make good paintwork. On to the next one, a cup of the old Rosili. So that was pretty much day one. Did about half a day at this property just to sort out these sills and strip them off, get them reshaped. Saved the client some money because I didn't need to re-render the sills, just shape them. The next day I was going to focus on this front door, which apparently is original. Stripping all the paintwork off with a heat gun and a nice chisel. And focusing on the bay window at the front as well. Something for later is that column up there, which is going to need a scaffold. But today I'm going to strip off this sill and get everything filled in. While I was stripping this sash window, some rot actually emerged. And the problem was that the previous decorator had filled this with some like resin filler, like this side here. And actually, this corner is actually meant to be open to allow drainage, but by filling it, you're essentially allowing water to seep into the corner there. So I'm going to be actually infilling this with a piece of sapele, which is extremely hard wood from another windowsill actually as a donor, and then gluing it with polyurethane, which will expand and seal it. So this is just an old sill which I took out on my house, and I'm just going to cut it down on the table saw. So rather than trying to shape this piece of wood to fit the hole, I'm just going to cut the window frame to fit the block. So it's so tempting to fill a hole like this with filler, but that is the worst thing you can do because, for a start, filler is not meant to be used for deep holes. Filler is for surface indentations of about 5 millimeters. So we need to infill this with a hardwood for any kind of durability here. The problem with filler is often it actually traps moisture around the filler, and you essentially just continue the rot problem. Often I pull out a big hunk of filler like an old tooth, and the wood is entirely rotten around it. So I'm just using a timber preserver here on all the cut ends, and then we will insert the infill and seal it with polyurethane. The reason I'm using gloves is the polyurethane glue is like a kind of honey consistency. It's extremely sticky, but when it dries as like a hard plastic, solid plastic, so you cannot get it off your hands for love nor money. So be very careful with this stuff. It's pretty toxic, I'm sure. But basically, what it does is it expands into every crevice. You'll see later that it's like an expanding foam. So what it does, it seals all the end grain in the wood and bonds them together. So that means that no water can penetrate the end grain and be absorbed. So while that's going off, I decided to crack on with the central sill and re-render that and fill in all the holes in the pillars as well. So I'm using a Dupre masonry repair filler, which is essentially a cement render, but it's a really nice soft powdery consistency, so you can actually sand it down. So this sill had to be re-rendered because acid erosion had led to the back of the sill becoming a cup, and that was leading to water seeping into the timber frame. So now it's rendered and the water will run off to the front. So that's the first 2 days, and there's more to come in other episodes. I'm going to be repainting the front door, repainting all the sills, repainting the columns, and then I will be taking out the sash windows and renovating them in the workshop. Stay tuned.